Sorry. Amai. Voila, nice in the sunshine. Yeah. So, indeed, first the Grand Place, which is practically best to translate by Market Square like it was, indeed, at the origin, the main market. All important cities in northern Belgium were developing around a market square like this. But that's important in Brussels. The original medieval square was about completely destroyed 1695 by the artillery of the French king Louis XIV. Immediately afterwards, completely rebuilt by the corporations, the guilds like we call them, in just 5 years of time. That's the reason all those different guild houses have the same style. Flemish Baroque of the late 17th century. Logical so, richest corporations making the most beautiful buildings. They had the money to do it, they wanted especially also to show it. So on that side we had the top in Bonifacius, the Golden Valley. Tailors and traders in Belgium, especially in Flanders. Since the Middle Ages, textile business has been a very important activity. On that side there is also a statue at the top, Charles de Lorraine, governor of our country in the 18th century. Maison de Brasseurs, the brew, still beer and brewery museum today. Beside the Swan, the butcher. On that side, completely on the left, with at the top St. Nicholas, the traders. St. Nicholas as patron saint of the traders also. Beside the shippers, and once again to show their activity, the upper part of the facade, it's the rear of a 17th century ship, 17th century caravel, but in stone. Ships at that time were in wood, of course. Building at the corner with the dome, Roi d'Espagne, the bakers. And the building has that name of Roi d'Espagne. Second floor, a bust of Charles II of Spain. That man was also our ruler at the time of the reconstruction of the square. There is only one real medieval building standing here today, the city. Gothic, 15th century. Clearly asymmetrical, tower is not in the mid, for the simple reason that they made it in different parts. The left wing, 1402, original city hall. At that time, entrance was a little stair over there. But like that first city hall was too small, about 40 years later, they were adding the right wing. Little bit different for the style, you see it especially at the level of the windows. It's at the end that they were building the tower, which is standing on the foundations of an old belfry tower. Cities in Flanders, Ghent, Bruges, Ypres, Kortrijk, those city towers, belfry towers are still existing. Brussels had one, but they wanted to replace it by something more monumental, more in harmony with the rest of the building. So demolishing the belfry tower, but keeping its foundations. And it's on the foundations of the belfry tower that they were building then the present tower of the city. And that one more exactly was completed 1455. St. Michael at the top, patron saint of the Gothic building on that side is indicated with the double name King's House Bread. Bread hall is it. In the old days, on the same place, huge covered market to sell bread. At that time, bakers could not sell the bread at their home. They had to bring it here to be sold on the market itself. Especially, Duke was taking a little tax, good business, bread you need daily. The other name, King's House, there was never a king living in that building. But in the present style, it's dated back to the period of Emperor Charles V, first man in our country being king, like he was also king in Spain. To be exact, for a big part were built in the late 19th century. Like technically, real restoration was not possible, but the style is anyway the late Gothic of the period of Charles V, early 16th century. And that's today the museum of the city of Brussels, history, traditions of the city also. And for the moment, like there is an exhibition about the square itself. There are two rather interesting things to see. The real mannequin piece, like the fountain standing there at the end of the street since 40 years is a replica. The original one is kept in the museum also. And a more detailed explanation about him, like he's not unique. There are other similar fountains in other countries over the world also. Second, since the restoration, St. Michael over there is also a replica. The real one, for the moment, is also an exhibition in the museum over there. It's rather big, 4 meters high, and the real one completely green, corroded, with the oxidation, standing 500 years at the top of the tower. So that one is completely green. And like restoration was quite impossible also to delicate. They made a new one, but completely identical like the original one. But again, like it was at the origin 500 years ago, gold plated, with even a little bit red for the tongue of the dragon and things like that. No questions yet? We have the time. We are together for more than 2 hours. Clear? Then we're gonna leave the square in that direction, pointing out the building over there also. Voilà. But at the moment we are listening that we are taking it. Voilà. Moving in that direction. First.
Ja, zaterdag se pode ter postos no e-mail.